What's good YouTube, your boy Proxy here. I know it's been a minute, but your boy is back. So before I go into other concepts, I figured I'll set the table with the various fundamental concepts of MK. Today, we'll talk about jailing. This concept can simply be defined or explained as putting your opponent in a situation where they're forced to block. This situation usually arises from a hit, plus frames, etc. If they do anything else other than blocking, they'll be punished for doing so. Anything that affords you significant hit advantage or plus frames can allow you to jail your opponent. Hit advantage is simply how many frames of advantage you're afforded when hitting an opponent. For example, the second hit of raid in stand 1-2 is 13 frames of hit advantage. This allows me to jail into various options such as the 15 frame forward 4. Look at the inputs. I'm trying to jump, down 1, backdash, etc. but I'll get hit. Generally, plus frames usually aren't significant enough to allow you to jail your opponent into various normals. However, extreme plus frames such as Motaro's low tail shot, which is plus 13, can allow you to jail into various buttons. Here's a showcase. After low tail shot, I can stand in 1-2 and jail my opponent. I'll talk about this more later on in the video. Now, you can go about jailing an opponent from a poke situation, or via strings into cameos, special cancels, etc. First, let's talk about jailing from pokes. Pokes are used to check opponents, counter staggers, low profile, etc. I'll explain the concept of poking in depth in its own separate video. For this video, we'll focus on the jailing aspect of pokes. Generally, all pokes provide you certain hit advantages on hit. The hit advantage afforded vary between the various pokes of different characters. Think of hit advantage as plus frames. This refers to the amount of frames by which you're allowed to do an action before your opponent recovers. So, for example, my down 1 on raiding is 12 frames of hit advantage. This grants me 12 frames to do various actions with before my opponent can do anything. So, if I down 1 him, I can do certain actions before he recovers. Here's a general showcase. Now when jailing, your goal is to force the opponent to take pressure, block high button / strings, mix, etc. Now, here's what may happen when you don't jail properly. Players often mash on hit. When you hear this term, this means that the player inputs a button even though they got hit, leaving them negative. Let me show you what that looks like. So, you may go for various options from your poke and your opponent down 1s you. This works because down 1 is generally the fastest button in the game and it also low profiles highs and throws. Albeit once the necessary frame window is there and punishes the opponent. This is a very common scenario that I'm sure that you yourself can relate to. So let's get to the jailing and I'll show you why it counters that. Now, I'll make the opponent do various actions after being poked and jail them to show you the various situations. First, I'll try to make them jump after being poked. Once you jail them properly, they won't be able to jump. So, I'm plus whatever after I landed my poke. Now I go into a fast button and he gets hit. That was jailing done correctly. The opponent was not able to jump after being poked. Now, let's redo the same situation, but I'm late with my jailing. See how she's now able to jump? This means that you mistime your jailing sequence, which allows them to do that. And let me make this clear. Every character can jail, not specifically only Raiden. I'll blow your back out if I see a comment saying or asking how to jail with other characters. Obviously, your hit advantages and what you can jail into may vary, but you can jail nonetheless. Next, I'll repeat the same situation and make them duck. First, absorb high buttons will whiff. Now, let's jail them and test the outcome. She now cannot duck that same high button, allowing me to initiate my stagger pressure. If you mistime it, she ducks it. Next, I'll try to make a backdash. Same outcome. Now, let's make the opponent down 1, which is their fastest button option. The opponent will get blown off for attempting to press a button once they're jailed correctly. If your opponent is mashing out of your jailing situations, you're either mistiming your jailing or using options that allow them to do as such. Now here's some nuance to jailing. First, the hit advantage and your afforded plus frames determine what you can jail into. The lower your hit advantage, the less buttons that it can jail into, and the opposite is also true. Find and know your best jailing buttons and what they afford you. Second, far-reaching pokes can also allow you to jail into various buttons via dash cancelling. For example, Raiden's down 4 is very far-reaching and has 15 frames of hit advantage. If I use this at a very far distance, I cannot jail into his various best buttons as they'll whiff. However, if I dash cancel, I can jail into them. Also note, based on the distance the poke is used, it'll afford you different jailing options. Last, opponents cannot armor if you jail them. they can only armor if your chosen option does not jail them. Here's what I mean. After down 1, standing 1-2 fully jails. He has to respect it. However, if I go for my overhead which is 19 frames, it doesn't jail. This allows her to be able to armor through it. This is somewhat of an option select, also known as an OS. Here's what I mean. As I showed before, she can input the armor inputs after being poked. If she's jailed, she ends blocking. However, if a non-jailing option is used, then she armors through it. Once you start jailing your opponent and they start respecting it, this opens up your offense. Now you can throw them, go for high starter frame overheads, you can even shimmy your opponent, etc. So here's some options you may have out of jailing your opponent from pokes. You can go for pressure/chip, you can go for mix, you can throw your opponent, you can go for stagger pressure, set up your backdash mind game, etc. It's your prerogative. Okay, let's move into jailing as it pertains strings, special cancels, cameos, etc. Certain buttons or strings can jail into cameos or special cancel. This means that you do anything besides block here and you'll be punished for doing so. This can afford you guaranteed pressure, mix, etc. Here's where it gets interesting. Some of these fighter cameo combinations can repeat these jailing sequences because they're so plus. This means that the end of the jailing sequence has significant plus frames, which allows the opponent to potentially rejail you and can also afford them various other options against you. Take for example Raiden Motaro. He can jail into low tail shot from forward 2-2. This allows him to jail his standing 1-2. I'll make Havoc down 1 on reversal after being hit by tail shot. Observe what happens. Depending on my jailing timing, I can either force him to block or create a frame trap where I punish him for pressing down 1. Even though it doesn't say punish, the reason he got hit is because he was pressing a button. Now, on the defensive end, knowing what jails into what is essential to you not trying to be disrespectful against your opponents and pressing when you're not supposed to, resulting in you being punished for doing so. It will significantly reduce your knowledge checks. This is another concept I'll also talk about in a future video. Likewise, you should also know what doesn't jail. Non-jailing sequences can either be armored, interrupted, backdashed, etc. This is due to a gap existing between the string and special cancel, or frames are not plus enough, etc. Opponents may be knowledge checking you and getting away with murder with a particular string into special cancel or cameo that you think you cannot press a button on. Always learn matchups. So here's how to practice jailing. You can set your opponent to duck and set the block mode to auto. This will allow you to poke them and see what you can jail into before they can duck again. For testing high normals, set them to jump and practice jailing. If you want to know if a string or string into cameo, special cancel, etc. jails, set your opponent to down 1 on reversal. Then set reversal on and set the attack to recording. Also ensure that the block mode is on all. Now you can go about testing. If you get down 1 interrupted, then it doesn't jail. Trust me, if you learn how to jail, you'll win more matches. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people refuse to respect jailing and mash constantly on hit. Heck, some don't even know what jailing is. Learning how to jail and understanding the overall concept will significantly improve your gameplay, understanding of the game and unlock your offense. Do not, and I repeat, do not double poke your opponent after landing a poke. You're wasting your hit advantage and forfeiting your turn if they block after being hit. I'll do y'all like Bane did Batman if I catch y'all doing this. I didn't talk about pseudo jailing because I didn't want the video to be too long. I'll cover it in another video. So that's the video. I'll drop videos on other various fundamental concepts, so stay tuned for more. I'm out, one love.